Sometimes we are so scared to imagine success because of the fear of the unknown. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Read with TEMI. So, we'll be reviewing our book, Who Moved My Cheese, and we are on the third episode now. If you've been engaging and following the reviews, you would agree with me that it has been very impactful. We've learned a lot of lessons from the book. So without wasting any much of our time, we're going to be going into episode 3. Remember, we're still talking about Who Moved My Cheese, a book just about change and how different people respond to change. Yes, and we said that the more important your cheese is to you, the more you want to hold on to it from our previous episode. And we saw how that Sniff and Scurry, the moment they saw that everything had changed for them, they changed along with it. They didn't wait, they didn't cry, they didn't overanalyze anything. They just went on moving, had a plan B, But then, the little people being Tem and Hor, they were just so sad, depressed, and still yelling and complaining and asking why the cheese was no longer there. So basically, they just kept circling around their situation without actually moving on from it. So those were some of the things that we learned from the previous episode. We also talked about the power of routine. We said that the more consistent you are with something, it becomes a part of you, either negative or positive. So we're going to be diving quickly into episode 3, and it says, if you do not change, you become extinct. Okay. The next day, Hem and all left their homes and returned to Cheese Station C again, where they still expected somehow to find their cheese. The situation hadn't changed. The cheese was no longer there. The little people didn't know what to do. Hem and Haw just stood there, immobilized like two statues. Haw shut his eyes as tight as he could and put his hands over his ears like this. Why me? Why me? He just wanted to block everything out. Does that sound relatable? He didn't want to know the cheese supply had gradually been getting smaller. He believed it had been moved all of a sudden, like he just cannot come to the terms with the fact that, okay, supply of cheese has been growing really small. He just felt somebody somewhere just suddenly took the cheese away from him. Hem analyzed the situation. Remember, they had these complex brains like humans. Hem analyzed the situation over and over, and eventually his complicated brain with his huge belief system took hold. Why did they do this to me? Is that a question that you've asked one way or another? He demanded, what's really going on here? Finally, Haw opened his eyes, looked around and said, by the way, where are Sniff and Scurry? Do you think they know something we don't? Em scoffed. What would they know? Hem continued, they are just mice. They just respond to what happens. We are little people. We are smarter than mice. You think so? We should be able to figure this out. I know we are smarter, Haw said, but we don't seem to be acting smarter at the moment. Things are changing around here, Hem. Maybe we need to change and do things differently. Finally, somebody's thinking. Why should we change? Hem asked. We're little people. We're special. This sort of thing should not happen to us. I don't deserve this thing that is happening to me. Why should I be the one to change? Or if it does, we should at least get some benefits. Okay, sense of entitlement. Why should we get benefits? Or asked. Because we are entitled, Hem claimed. Entitled to what? Haw wanted to know. We're entitled to our cheese. Why? Haw asked. Because we didn't cause the problem, Hem said. Somebody else did this and we should get something out of it. You see the mentality. Horse suggested maybe we should simply stop analyzing the situation so much and go find some new cheese. Oh, no, Em argued. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. While Hem and Haw were still trying to decide what to do, Sniff and Scurry were already well on their way. They went farther into the maze. Remember, the maze is a place where we go looking for the cheese, things that are important to us. Up and down corridors, looking for cheese in every cheese station they could find. They didn't think of anything else but finding new cheese. That's Sniff and Scurry. They didn't find any for some time until they finally went into an area of the maze where they had been before. Cheese Station N. They turned with delight. They found what they had been looking for. A great supply of new cheese. Wow! They could hardly believe their eyes. It was the biggest store of cheese the mice had ever seen. You know that moment where you think what you are experiencing now is the best you can get, until you take a U-turn and see, oh, I could actually have more. I could actually experience more. There is more to this. There is a better experience for me than just being here. And we do not realize that until we have moved from our comfort zones. So are you ready to take that step? Are you ready to believe that there is more to life to where you are? There is more to life than what you're doing right now. In the meantime, Hem and Haw were still back in Cheese Station C, evaluating their situation. They were now suffering from the effects of having no cheese. They were becoming frustrated and angry and were blaming each other for the situation they were in. Typical of the human nature. Now and then, Haw thought about his mice friends, Sniff and Scurry, and wondered if they had found any cheese yet. He believed they might be having a hard time, as running through the maze usually involved some uncertainty. But he also knew that it was likely to only last for a while. Sometimes, Haw would imagine Sniff and Scurry finding new cheese and enjoying it. He thought about how good it would be for him to be out on an adventure in the maze and to find fresh new cheese. He could almost taste it. The more clearly Haw saw the image of himself finding and enjoying the new cheese, the more he saw himself leaving Cheese Station C. The mind. He began to see it in his mind. Our thoughts are very powerful. You see that he began to imagine what he wanted, and he began to imagine how it would feel when he gets that. Sometimes you just need to change your thought patterns. Our thought patterns can cripple us from success. Our thought patterns can deprive us of certain good opportunities. So we need to change our thought patterns. How is your thought pattern? Is it positive? Is it something that encourages you to push for more, or to just wallow in a situation that you cannot change? No, Hem quickly responded. I like it here. It's comfortable. It's what I know. Besides, it's dangerous out there. The fear of the unknown. Something very typical of us as humans. You fear change. What if I go and it doesn't work out? I'm already used to this place. Why should I change? What if something happens to me? It's better to just stay here. It's safe here. Sometimes the fear of the unknown can cripple us of certain good opportunities. No, it isn't, Haw argued. We've run through many parts of the maze before, and we can do it again. I'm getting too old for that. Can you imagine? Hem said, and I'm afraid I'm not interested in getting lost and making a fool of myself. Are you? With that, Haw's fear of failing returned and his hope of finding new cheese faded. Have you been in that situation where you feel like age is already telling on me, so it's not an opportunity I want to take? How will I go back to school and be in the same class with people that I'm way older than? Oh, age is not on my side. I can't take this opportunity. Sometimes we express that as human beings. So every day, the little people continue to do what they had done before. You know, when they say you are doing something, the same thing, and expecting a different result, what's that called? You know it. They went to Cheese Station C, found no cheese, and returned home, carrying their worries and frustrations with them. Imagine. They tried to deny what was happening, but found it harder to get to sleep, had less energy the next day, and were becoming irritable. Imagine that. Their homes were not the nurturing places they once were. The little people had difficulty sleeping and were having nightmares about not finding any cheese. But Ham and Hall still returned to Cheese Station C and waited there every day. Ham said, "You know, if we just work harder, we'll find that nothing has really changed that much. The cheese is probably nearby. Maybe they just hid it behind the wall." The next day, Ham and Hall returned with tools. Ham held the chisel while Hall banged on the hammer until they made a hole in the wall of Cheese Station C. They peered inside but found no cheese. They were disappointed but believed they could solve the problem. So they started earlier, stayed longer, and worked harder. But after a while, all they had was a large hole in the wall. Can you imagine all the efforts for nothing? Hall was beginning to realize the difference between activity and productivity. I mean, they're working hard. What if the cheese is behind the wall? So they are taking their hammers, they are taking their chisels, and they are trying hard and hard and hard. But they are working hard. But is that really being productive? No. So they began to see the difference between activity and productivity. "Maybe," Hem said, "we should just sit here and see what happens." You know, this Hem, they need to flog him. The way I'm seeing this character. Sooner or later, they have to put the cheese back. That was what he suggested. Hall wanted to believe that, so each day he went home to rest and returned reluctantly with Hem to Cheese Station C. But cheese never reappeared. By now, the little people were growing weak from hunger and stress. Hall was just getting tired of waiting for their situation to improve, like some of us would do. He began to see that the longer they stayed in their cheeseless situation, the worse off they would be. Hall knew they were losing their edge. Finally, one day, Hall began laughing at himself. "Oh, look at us. We keep doing the same things over and over again and wonder why things don't get better. If this wasn't so ridiculous, it would be even more funnier." Hall did not like the idea of having to run through the maze again because he knew he would get lost and have no idea where he would find any cheese. But he had to laugh at his folly when he saw what his fear was doing to him, that point of realization. He asked him, "Where did you put our running shoes?" It took a long time to find them because they had put everything away when they found cheese at Cheese Station C, thinking they wouldn't be needing them anymore. What are those hobbies? What are those passions that you have put away? Because you feel very comfortable where you are. "I don't need them. I don't need to do this." Those courses that you've kept aside, those exams you're supposed to take. "Oh, I don't need it. I don't need to do it. I'm okay. I'm fine. It's all good." And Ham saw his friend getting into his running gear. He said, "You are not really going out in the maze again, are you? Why don't you just wait here with me until they put the cheese back?" Warn yourself. "Because you just don't get it," Hall said. "I didn't want to see it either because now I realize they are never going to put yesterday's cheese back. It's time to find new cheese." Hem argued, "But what if there is no cheese out there? Or even if there is, what if we don't find it?" "I don't know," Hall said. He had asked himself those same questions too many times and felt the fears again and kept him where he was. He asked himself, "Where am I more likely to find cheese? Here or in the maze?" He painted a picture in his mind. He saw himself venturing out into the maze with a smile on his face. While this picture surprised him, it made him feel good. He saw himself getting lost now and then in the maze, but felt confident he would eventually find new cheese out there and all the good things that came with it. He gathered his courage. Your thought patterns. Then he used his imagination to paint the most believable picture with the most realistic details of him finding and enjoying the taste of new cheese. He saw himself eating Swiss cheese with holes in it, bright orange and American cheeses, Italian and wonderfully soft French cheese. And then he heard him say something and realized they were still at cheese station C. He was already imagining his success. Sometimes we are so scared to imagine success because of the fear of the unknown or the fear of failure. What if it doesn't happen? Dream big, think big, open yourself to possibilities, open yourself to the idea that things can actually get better for you. Horst said, sometimes things change and they are never the same again. This looks like one of those times. That's life. Life moves on. And so should we. Somebody has started to have sense. Hall looked at his emaciated companion and tried to talk sense to him, but Hem's fear had turned into anger and he wouldn't listen. Hall didn't mean to be rude to his friend, but he had to laugh at how silly they both looked. As Hall prepared to leave, he started to feel more alive. Knowing that he was finally able to laugh at himself, let go and move on. Let go and move on. Hall laughed and announced, "It's May's time!" Hem didn't laugh and he didn't respond. Hall picked up a small sharp rock and wrote a serious thought on the wall for Hem to think about. As was his custom, Hall even drew a picture of cheese around it, hoping it would help Hem to smile, lighten up and go after the new cheese. But Hem didn't want to see it. It read, "If you do not change, you become extinct." I mean, time for reflection. This episode has been so full of lessons flying out from different angles. You see how people respond to change. Some people just want to stay in that situation for the fear of the unknown. What if it doesn't go well? And then they begin to get frustrated and angry at why things are the way they are for them, having a sense of entitlement. Sometimes as human beings, we act like that. So the story of Hem and Haw, Sniff and Scurry is to show us how different people respond to change and how responding to change would affect your life in a positive way if you actually sit down to say, you know what, as things has changed, then I need to change with it. So there are a lot of lessons and reflections for us in this particular episode. As usual, leave your thoughts and your comments, your reflections. Have you had this experience before where you had to move from a particular situation or you remained there for the fear of the unknown? How you thought about a particular situation and how those thoughts affected your decisions? Leave your thoughts, leave your comments, and let's just grow together and learn together. Thank you very much for joining me on Read with TEMI. I'll see you on the next episode. Catch ya!